Woodland with Adrian Conway. We got Mike Arsenault down on the competition floor. We were told we would be joined by Matt Fraser, but he has been delayed, so hopefully he will show up here in a little bit. But the business at hand, test number 8 is intervals.
That's right, it's intervals. It's 2 rounds of this. 21 box jump overs at 24 inches for these men. 15 calorie on the row, 9 burpee box jump overs. They're gonna have a reset at 6 minutes, and then guess what? They're gonna repeat it coming back the opposite way.
Recipe for success is delivered by Trifecta. What will you be watching for?
Well, you gotta earn your rest. So you wanna think more speed. The faster you finish, the more time you're gonna get to recover. And then the trick is don't redline, run the race, but you gotta stay just under your full threshold.
10 men on the floor for this first of 3 heats. In lane number 7 is Ant Haynes. He currently sits in 24th place overall. He got a backfill invite from the Asia semifinal, and for more on him, here's Mike Arsenault.
That's right, Sean. Ant wasn't even supposed to be here on July 19th. That's when he got the call that he received the backfill. He had already tapered his training. He got a flight to Madison. He was going to be here anyway because he was coaching a Masters athlete. He was supposed to leave on Thursday to go to a wedding in Scotland. Instead, this is his wedding gift to his friend Ali, potentially a top 10 performance here on test number 8.
Nick Matthew is hoping to get himself some points here in this test. Right now, 21st place overall. Again, we cut down to 20 athletes after tonight. And unfortunately, they did not let Nick cut down his shirt.
That could be the lack of his superpower here in the Coliseum this year, Chino.
Heat number 1 is underway, and we start with the 21 box jump overs at 24 inches now for the men.
Now we're gonna see several different styles on this box jump over here. The one standard is that the athletes do have to stabilize on the ground, then jump again. There's no touch and go box jumps allowed.
.21 reps here. Middle of your screen is Nick Matthew. Once again, 21st place overall, trying to work his way inside the top 20 over these final 2 tests before that cut tonight. James Sprague and Nick Matthew will be the first 2 men to the rower, along with Fabian Benito.
That's right, and James Sprague makes short work of those box jump overs, staying very lateral the entire time. And I'll tell you what, Sean, even from what we saw previously from the women, it really pays off to row with a lot of power, where the athletes that were able to make the most time up on this erg in each direction that seemed to favor in the overall fastest times.
There is Fabian Benito, who sits in 28th place overall with 239 points. So he's got to make up some ground here over these final 2 tests to survive the final cut. And now Benito, bottom of your screen, moving on to the 9 burpee box jump overs at 48 inches. Can you get over however you want? You just can't swing your feet out and around.
That's right. There's going to be a lot of different forms here even to get over this box. We saw some of the females earlier just crawling over. We saw some bounding over. Everyone's going to be using their hands because this box, again, to remind you guys watching, it is 48 inches. And that is not something that easily these guys could just get up and over without the use of their upper body, especially not considering all the work they've done with their lower body up until this point throughout the weekend.
9 reps here, then it's back to the smaller box at 24 inches, the one that you see right there in the middle of your screen. On the right side is now Heinrich Happelainen, and Fabian Benito will be the first 2 men to those reps. Here come Nick Matthew and James Sprague towards the top of your screen. Elevate your athleticism. Get 20% off standard or elite membership at wildhealth.com. Use the code CFGAMES. 90 total reps here.
We're looking at Nick Matthew to the left, and of course James Sprague on the right here, again remaining pretty laterally on his box jumps. He hits, lands softly, and immediately steps down, the foot closest to the floor. No crossing over for James, and it's allowing him to make fast work of these reps.
James Sprague in 23rd place overall with 291 total points.
Sean, another thing that was a key contributor to success in the female side as we watched them execute this test was transitions are a big aspect of this. You can't just be focused on the movement at hand. You've got to get to the next movement in order to progress yourself towards the finish line as fast as possible.
Top 4 on your screen. On the far right is your leader in this heat right now, Fabian Benito. Next to him is Heinrich Happelainen, and then on the left side, the far left of the screen, is James Sprague, currently sits in 3rd place in this heat, and Nick Matthew is in fourth. Final 15-calorie row before the 9 final burpee box jump overs at 48 inches to close out interval number 1.
Benito, the first one off to the burpee box jump overs. And one thing to watch here again, too, is their descend to the floor. You can't just think about getting over the box. You've got to get your hands literally down to the ground, make contact with your chest as quickly as you can in order to start the next rep.
Fabian Benito looking to get across the finish line first here. His best finish in this competition came in the opening test in ride when he finished 13th.
Sean, I'd be curious too, in the athlete's mind here, are they thinking forward to that 6-minute mark already? How bad am I suffering? How do I gauge this fatigue that's building? Do I really want to win by a couple seconds right now, or do I want to put it in reservation so that I can finish strong on the back half?
Well, Heinrich Apolainen is the first man across at 3:59.02 seconds. But Ant Haynes also got in ahead of Fabian Benito.
We see Nick Matthew on a knee. A couple of the gentlemen also on a knee in the prone position. They're kneeling. They're trying to take in oxygen. There was a point in a lot of competitive history within sports where, like, you were showing weakness if you bent over and put your hands on your knees. Sean, we started to understand that this is actually the position we can take in the most oxygen in that place.
Every coach that ever yelled at me for that owes me an apology right now.
They owe you a big apology.
So Heinrich Apolainen 3:59.02 seconds. Ant Haynes edges out Fabian Benito by 0.3 of a second, and it's Sprague and Parker rounding out the top 5. Let's bring in Mike Arsenault.
Just building on the rest discussion there, guys. Adrian, question for you. So these athletes getting under between 90 seconds and 2 minutes to rest before the second part of this test. Is there anything they can do other than just trying to get that heart rate back down to a more manageable level to attack the second part of this test at close to full capacity?
There's not really a lot that they can do, and that really is a great question, other than trying to find that prone position perhaps early in their recovery. What they want to do is then get to their feet, try to shake out the legs, move and process some of that lactate that is built in their lower bodies throughout the course of the last 2.5 days, and then really try to get their mind focused on how they need to attack the back half of this test.
There's a look at Jack Farlow trying to get his heart rate down. But it was Fabian Benito who led the way, but then Heinrich Apolainen, the man on the left side of your screen, was able to reel him in on those final 9 burpee box jump overs.
He was very consistent, Sean. He made headway in all the transitions, not slowing at all. And then Apolainen just creeping in right there to take it.
Apolainen was first. Ant Haynes was second in that interval by about 2 seconds. And now we go through this in reverse order. We start with the 9 burpee box jump overs. And then after that, it's the 15-calorie row.
And we're seeing urgency from all the athletes out the gate, of course. This is where they've only got the short set, the short amount of work. This is the 9 repetitions as they progress forward into the 15. It's about the next set of 9 burpee box jump overs where we're going to really start to see some separation into the final stretch.
Well, Nick Matthew is off first, followed by Heinrich Apolainen and James Sprague. Now here come Moritz Fiebig and Ant Haynes. Nick Matthew towards the middle of your screen in the blue shorts, no shirt on, and the yellow shoes. Now on the right side in the box on your left. So top 3 men on your screen. Nick Matthew right in the middle. Heinrich Apolainen on the right. James Sprague on the left.
On this row here, right in the middle, this is where you kind of got to be willing to show a little bit of grit. Focus on the mechanics, driving with the legs as long as you can before you hand it off to the upper body so you can save a little bit of juice.
Now Heinrich Apolainen, first man to the 21 box jump overs, followed by Nick Matthew, then Fabian Benito and Jack Farlow are next.
Apolainen using the low landing position on the box, not having to really rise and fall his center of mass. This is a great way and a great technique to really conserve some energy overall, especially when it comes to spiking your heart rate. You're staying low to the box, so it's a jump, but you're really not having to jump that high.
And there's Nick Matthew, who right now is on the wrong side of the final cut line, but only 11 points back of Sam Quant. This is Matthew's second straight appearance here at the CrossFit Games. Last year he finished 14th overall and had a test win in the skill speed medley. as Heinrich Happelainen and Fabian Benito are on to their second and final set of 9 burpee box jump overs. And James Sprague from the top of your screen and Nick Matthew are there as well. Jack Farlow closest to the screen, working through his reps here. 90 total reps here, and it's Happelainen who's through 51 and counting.
Farlow, one of the strongest athletes in the field, Sean, really doing a great job this year at showing his well-roundedness, his focus to build that aerobic engine a bit.
Well, Heinrich Happelainen is the first man into the rower. You may have noticed Jack Farlow, his feet were swinging outside, but they were still above the plane of the box, so that was okay. He's not shortening the movement there. Happelainen on the left, Fabian Benito is on the right. And now Sprague, Matthew, Bronislaw Olejniewicz too. Keep an eye on him. He's in 5th place right now, but that man's got some power, does Big Braun.
Happelainen on the countdown looks like he's got a bit of a lead. Got to be willing to get a little ugly here on these rows, folks. Trying to think about getting that paddle right back to the monitor as fast as you can.
Heinrich Happelainen looking to go back-to-back here in these 2 intervals. His first time was 3:59.02 seconds. Here comes Fabian Benito. James Sprague has moved himself into 3rd place. And Jack Farlow now sits in 4th, followed by Bronislaw Olejniewicz. 8 reps remaining for Heinrich Happelainen.
And at this point, Sean, it just doesn't look like you can really close the gap. The fact that they're forced to step down and not rebound these jumps really dictates their ability to close the gap or pass people on this portion of the test.
And it's going to be Heinrich Happelainen who gets over. He may have had a rep remaining or had to get up on the finish pad. And now Fabian Benito is in. So we'll have to see what Happelainen's official time is. It looks like it counted 4:02.96 seconds as James Sprague is in. Jack Farlow going to be the next man along with Bronislaw Olejniewicz. So Olejniewicz is now across, and so is Farlow.
Nick Matthew also creeped in there.
David Sharunke, now Fiebig, Haynes, and Parker are all done. So we will wait for the total times, but it does look like Heinrich Happelainen is going to have your top score here. Woo! Heading into heat number 2.
Great execution there by Henrik. Very impressive.
Only a 3-second difference between his first interval and his second.
And that's the consistency that you hope for on a test like this, man. It's like not going out the gate too hot, running your race, but not redlining, a lot like we said for the recipes for success. And that's what Happelainen did. He was very consistent throughout. He was able to sneak by here on this first half, get himself just enough of a margin probably so he could have that advantage on the back half, knowing that he's playing with a little bit of house money. It's building a bank or an advantage for yourself. And then a lot of it can become psychological. Getting to that big box first, knowing that you've got 1 or 2 reps ahead of the field, and then he was able to finish and stumble his way across the finish line.